All right, the last one says factor completely using real and complex numbers. So it's x to the fourth minus 12x squared minus 64. Now, since it says factor, we know that we have to factor. Since there's three terms, it's a trinomial. I think the pitchfork method is going to be the best one to use. Now remember, it connects the first and the last, so there's 1 out front. 1 times negative 64. So in other words, multiplies to negative 64, but they have to add to this negative 12 in the middle. Now that comes out to be negative 16 and positive 4. So there's our pair of numbers. Now we're going to do the same thing as last time. The 1x to the fourth, or just x to the fourth, is going to come on down. We're going to put our negative 16, our positive 4 in the middle to replace this guy. Now, since this guy is x squared, we're going to put an x squared with them. That's going to be really important for when we're grouping. And the negative 64 comes down. We're going to go ahead and group them. And I'm going to go through this somewhat quickly since we did it already. The greatest common factor here is x squared. And we are left with x squared minus 16. This guy is a plus, so we're going to bring down a plus. And the greatest common factor is 4. And we get x squared minus 16 again. Since our parentheses match, I'm going to take them and put them into one parenthesis. And I'm going to take the leftovers, the x squared, the plus 4, and put them into another. Oh, plus 4, I apologize. Now, we have to factor all the way. And what that usually means is that we have to be careful that these guys are x squareds, because that usually means we can factor more. This guy in particular is a difference of squares. 16 is a perfect square. The square root of it is 4. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this guy into the square roots of it. One is x plus 4, because the square root of 16 is 4, and x minus 4. You got to be on the lookout for those. And the x squared plus 4 stays the way it is because it's not a difference of squares. I know 4 is a perfect square, but it's got a plus sign with it. It doesn't factor anymore. Now, if you want to be super awesome and we want to use those complex numbers, if it is a sum of squares, it works the same way except that there's i's involved. So I'm not going to touch these first two, x plus 4, x minus 4. But what I can do now is I can take this second parenthesis and I can say that there's still an x squared. It is a sum of squares. So I can break that into x plus 2, x minus 2. But because it's got that plus sign, both of these get i's, or imaginary numbers. I will accept either of these ways as the fully factored version.